Holy Hey! Slow the down!
Gold Rush has always sold one powerful idea. If you're willing to suffer long enough, push hard enough, and risk everything, the land will eventually reward you. That belief is what turned a simple mining show into one of Discovery's biggest franchises. Viewers didn't just watch people dig for gold, they watched obsession, desperation, and hope collide in the middle of nowhere. But lately, something about Gold Rush feels different, and longtime fans can sense it. The show still looks intense on the surface. Machines break down at the worst moments, crews argue, deadlines loom, gold totals are revealed with dramatic music. Yet behind all of that, the reality of Gold Rush has become far more complicated than what ends up on screen, and in many cases far more troubling. What most viewers don't realize is that modern gold mining is rarely exciting. Weeks can pass with nothing happening. Equipment runs smoothly. Crews repeat the same routines day after day. That kind of reality doesn't make good television, so the show fills in the gaps. Moments are rearranged, conflicts are emphasized, silence is replaced with tension. Over time, that subtle manipulation changes how everything feels. As the seasons go on, the pressure to deliver drama increases, not because miners want it, but because the show depends on it. When ratings matter, calm doesn't survive the edit. Frustration does, exhaustion does, anger does. Mining already pushes people to their limits without cameras involved. Long hours in freezing conditions, physical strain that never really goes away, constant noise, dirt, and stress. Add a production schedule on top of that, and everything intensifies. Crews don't just have to mine successfully, they have to do it on a timeline that works for television. That pressure doesn't disappear when the cameras shut off. It follows miners back to camp, into their sleep, and into every decision they make. Mistakes become more likely, tempers shorten, and when someone finally snaps, it becomes content. One of the biggest myths Gold Rush maintains is the idea that gold totals equal profit. Viewers hear numbers that sound massive, hundreds of ounces, sometimes thousands. What's rarely explained is how much it costs just to keep mining going. Fuel alone can drain enormous amounts of money. Heavy equipment breaks constantly, parts are expensive, and delays are brutal. Labor isn't cheap. Permits, land leases, and transportation all eat away at whatever gold is pulled from the ground. By the time everything is paid for, some seasons that look successful on TV barely make financial sense in real life. In a few cases, miners walk away with far less than viewers assume, but the show doesn't focus on thin margins or long-term debt. It focuses on the spectacle of gold hitting the scale. That disconnect slowly changes how audiences perceive success. Gold Rush makes it look like persistence always wins, even when reality says otherwise, and that illusion puts even more pressure on the people living it. As seasons pass, fatigue becomes harder to hide. Some miners start to look worn down rather than driven. The excitement that once fueled big risks turns into obligation. When someone has built their identity around the show, stepping away isn't simple. Gold Rush becomes more than a job. It becomes an expectation. Production knows this. They know who will push themselves too far. They know who reacts emotionally under stress. They know which personalities clash when things go wrong. None of this is accidental. Reality television thrives on predictable chaos. That doesn't mean scenes are scripted word for word. It means situations are encouraged. When two exhausted people disagree, cameras stay close. When frustration builds, it's rarely diffused. Silence would calm things down, but silence doesn't make good television. Over time, this approach takes a toll. Arguments stop being productive, trust erodes, crews fracture, and what once felt like raw reality begins to feel engineered. Viewers have noticed the shift. Early seasons felt unpredictable. Anything could happen. A massive discovery or a devastating failure could change everything overnight. In newer seasons, the stakes feel strangely familiar. Another breakdown, another deadline, another dramatic weigh-in. The beats repeat, even if the faces change. That repetition doesn't mean the show is fake. It means it's under strain. When real-life mining no longer delivers enough natural drama, storytelling fills the gap, and storytelling has limits. Behind the scenes, Discovery depends heavily on Gold Rush. It anchors programming schedules, it drives spin-offs, it feeds an entire brand built around rugged survival and high-risk work. That kind of dependency makes walking away difficult, even when the original magic fades. As a result, the show adapts rather than ends. New angles are explored, old conflicts are revisited, tension is heightened wherever possible. The goal isn't deception, it's survival. Some longtime miners quietly step back, others remain, but with less energy than before. Viewers may not know why someone leaves, or why another seems disengaged. But behind the scenes, the grind adds up, physical injuries linger, financial uncertainty grows, mental exhaustion sets in. Gold Rush no longer documents ambition alone, it documents endurance, and endurance isn't glamorous. Social media discussions reflect this change. Fans debate what's real and what's exaggerated. Some defend the show, arguing that mining has always been hard. Others feel the heart of Gold Rush has been replaced by formula. Both sides sense that something fundamental has shifted. The truth is that Gold Rush is still real, but reality has limits when it's packaged for entertainment year after year. People change, land changes, costs rise, risk increases, and no amount of editing can fully hide that. What started as a raw look at modern prospectors has become a carefully balanced act between truth and television. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and when it doesn't, the cracks show through. The show may continue for years, it may evolve again, but the era where Gold Rush felt completely unpredictable may already be behind it. What remains is a version shaped by expectations, pressure, and the need to keep going no matter what. Because in the end, Gold Rush isn't just about gold anymore. It's about sustaining a story that was never meant to last forever. And that might be the hardest thing to mine of all. As Gold Rush moves further away from its early seasons, another uncomfortable reality becomes harder to ignore. The land itself is changing. The easiest ground was worked years ago. What remains is more expensive to mine, more unpredictable, and far less forgiving. That alone shifts everything. Bigger machines are required. More fuel is burned. Mistakes cost more than they ever did before. But television still demands the same payoff. Big numbers, big moments, big wins. That gap between expectation and reality is where much of the tension now lives. Crews are no longer just racing against winter or mechanical failure. They're racing against the idea of what Gold Rush is supposed to look like. When a season underperforms, it doesn't just hurt financially, it hurts reputations. It raises questions about whether someone still belongs on the show. That pressure changes behavior. Risks are taken that wouldn't make sense outside of television. Equipment is pushed longer than it should be. Decisions are rushed. When things go wrong, the fallout isn't just personal, it's public. Viewers see the breakdowns, but they don't always see the aftermath. The nights spent calculating losses. The quiet conversations about whether it's worth continuing. The realization that even if gold is found, it may not be enough to justify the damage being done. Another rarely discussed element is how filming itself alters mining operations. Cameras require access. Scenes require timing. Moments that would normally be handled quickly are extended, repeated, or delayed. That doesn't sound like much, but in an environment where minutes matter, it adds friction. Over time, that friction accumulates. Frustration builds not just between crew members but toward the entire process. Mining becomes something performed rather than lived, and once that happens, authenticity starts to slip. Gold Rush still captures real hardship, but it also amplifies it. Every failure feels final. Every setback feels catastrophic. That intensity keeps viewers watching, but it also distorts reality. Not every bad week ends a season. Not every argument threatens a crew. But when everything is framed as make or break, exhaustion becomes the dominant emotion. Some miners adapt by leaning into the role. They know what the show expects. They give reactions that fit the moment. Others pull inward. They speak less. They appear detached. Viewers may interpret that as arrogance or disinterest, when in reality it's often self-protection. Living under constant scrutiny changes how people carry themselves. Every mistake is replayed. Every outburst is remembered. And once something becomes part of someone's on-screen identity, it's hard to escape. That's another reason cast turnover has quietly increased. Walking away from Gold Rush isn't just leaving a job, it's leaving a version of yourself that millions of people recognize. Not everyone wants to keep living inside that version. Meanwhile, the show keeps moving forward. New claims, new conflicts, new reasons to tune in. On the surface, nothing seems wrong. But beneath it all, the pace feels heavier, less hopeful, more mechanical. Gold Rush hasn't lost its danger or its effort. What it's lost, at least in part, is innocence. The early belief that success was just one good season away. Now success feels temporary, fragile, conditional, and that's something no edit can fully erase. As long as the show continues, it will balance reality and storytelling the best it can. Sometimes that balance holds, sometimes it doesn't. When it doesn't, viewers feel it, even if they can't explain why. What they're sensing isn't deception, it's strain. Gold Rush is still digging, still grinding, still chasing the same promise it always has. But the cost of that chase is higher now, and the margin for error is thinner than ever. At some point, every rush slows down. The only question left is how long this one can keep going before the weight of its own success finally catches up to it.